Hello again, this is Ragabash. Thank you so much for watching my second Spread a Day video. Today's prompt is comfort. So I'm going to be reading about that particular topic. I'm not going to do the spread this time. I'm going to do the intuitive prompt and see where that takes me. I decided for today, I also wanted to make sure that I surrounded myself with things that I'm comfortable with. So I'm burning my favorite incense, amber scented. I have my nice selenite pillar votive candle holder, and I'm using a deck that I absolutely love and adore. This is called the Rohrig Tarot, Rohrig, Rohrig Tarot. Now mine's in Spanish, so it will be interesting to read with. It always is. This deck for me is incredibly intuitive, and as you might be able to tell from the way that I'm scrolling through, this deck is also very, very, very symbolic and uses a lot of different symbols than we might traditionally see in the tarot. That to me is very comfortable because I myself am a very intuitive reader, so I'm playing into one of my comforts. Anyway, let's see how this reading goes, shall we? This is the spread that I pulled for myself, and I did read for myself. I know that it's for me because these two cards in particular read very much to what I find comforting. I find myself the most comfortable when I am well grounded, and that's in particular what this card is trying to remind me of, is that I need to maintain my four pillars that help keep a solid foundation, lift me up, see the mountains here, keep me strong as a mountain, and all of that fun sort of stuff. That way I culminate in and I have a strong, strong foundation, as we see in the Ten of Pentacles. It's also interesting in this card in particular, you can see all of these different objects right here just sitting in the ground and sitting in the root. And I find that that's something that I myself really kind of embrace, is that I pull a lot of energy, a lot of feelings from my groundedness, from my earth, and that a lot of times as well, and again, this is not traditional with this card because this deck is hardly traditional, but I think what's also interesting is that I keep a lot of things kind of buried. I mean, you can see there's all kinds of different objects and ideas that are underneath the earth in this particular card. This takes us to this card, and this is the Hermit card. And I find myself most comfortable when I'm by myself, when I'm alone. I'm an introvert, which may seem a little odd, but I am very much an introverted person. And the Hermit itself reminds me that I am most comfortable when I'm alone, when I have alone time, when I can sit and think and get lost in my thoughts. And I find it interesting with this card just how much it truly does show that. What's also interesting is that there's the Scorpio symbol right here. I myself am not a Scorpio. My husband's a Scorpio. However, I have a lot of Scorpio in my chart. I also like that there's this maze on his face, because what that shows me is that this person is very contemplative. This person has to go through all kinds of different lines of thinking to get to the final result. And I like that sort of chase and that sort of interest in how to get from point A to point Z. This last card is the Six of Wands. Now, this is a very interesting, oh, sorry. It is the Eight of Wands. This isn't typically a picture that you would imagine with this type of a card, in particular because it shows an interesting sort of psychic connection happening here. Now, I do identify most with the wand suit. That's what makes me comfortable. I think that it's interesting that I've got this card next to the Hermit card. The Hermit says I'm most comfortable with when I'm by myself. However, this card reminds me that I'm also comfortable when I make a strong connection with someone. And when I have that connection with someone, I can find a lot of comfort with them, with myself, and it can help spark a lot of interesting creativity and projects and things of that nature. When that tends to happen, as the card suggests, it tends to be pretty quick. What I love about this card, and you can't see it too well, but you can a little bit, is the artist in this card writes down their notes on a lot of these different cards so that you can see how it all fits together, how the ideas come together, and that sort of thing. So that's my intuitive reading. As you can tell, I read very intuitively with these cards, maybe a little fast and loose with some of their traditional meanings, but that's part of the intuitive prompt. That's part of the intuitive reading. And for me, that's a part of the nature of this deck, is that this deck for me is incredibly, incredibly intuitive. Well, I hope you enjoyed listening to this reading, and I hope you tune back in for future readings. Bye. I realize I just said bye, but this was my shadow card. This was the card on the bottom of my deck, and when I looked at it, it kind of made sense. It's the Five of Wands, and you know, with this on the very bottom of the deck, it kind of tells me why I might have been interrupted so much as I was trying to do my readings. This card in particular, while it might mean strife and it might mean fights and things of that nature, for me, this card really shows this fire deep, deep, deep down inside that is breaking through and is struggling to get out, but is making their way and is trying so hard to be known and to be seen and to get back to the surface. And I feel like that's probably one of those things that I needed to hear, and I wouldn't have thought to look down at the bottom of the deck without running into a lot of problems from my recording. So I realized this added on about an extra minute, and I thank you for watching and listening to my rambling with this card. But this is something else that the deck wanted me to remember, is to embrace that inner fire, let it break out, let it break free, and be that fiery person that I am.